John Hutchinson is a Canadian experimenter that's self-taught, and his original intention was to pursue some of Tesla's wireless transfer of energy technology, just finish where Tesla left off. And what ended up happening has been come to be classified as the Hutchinson effect. In the late 70s, like around 1979, he started making the news for anti-gravity experiments and replication of Tesla lab stuff. So what he was doing was he was using super high voltage and super high frequency on a bunch of homemade equipment in combination with naval salvaged gear. A very ingenious setup to be able to hopefully replicate some of these strange effects that Tesla claimed. And what ended up happening was a different set of effects, including anti-gravity, transmutation of metals, spaghetti style, just ripping metals apart, strange things that have yet to be explained.
So we were saying that this probably is a favourite device of John's, and he may recognise it because it's got all these wonderful handles all over it. Just makes it look extra cool. But essentially, it's a receiver, and I was told that John would listen onto some earphones, and that he would have an idea of when effects might have been occurring when he heard some things going on in the earphones.
He was selling metal samples on eBay from his experiments. And when I very first saw these, I didn't have a clue. And so when I started looking into some of these listings and go to some of his video clips, I realized this was actually indeed John Hutchinson, and recognized his voice. So wow, this is actually that guy. This is the guy I remember from the videos, the anti-gravity stuff. And he's selling stuff off, trying to build a lab with the profits. So cool, you know, I'll buy a couple from him. I'm in. And just kind of started talking to him. And that's just more or less how it started. He's just a great person to get in contact with.
The type of resonance which causes the Hutchinson effect and related effects can be explained by looking at how the frequencies compare to the molecular and atomic structure of the material itself. This phenomenon is only observed while using ultra-high frequency and incredibly high frequency Tesla waves. Why? Because they correspond to the frequency of the distance in the atoms in the structure. The distance between the atoms in a structure is equal to the wavelength, which will resonate that structure. Once you find the resonant frequency with the Tesla waves, you have effectively trapped and aligned the atoms. You can now tune the frequency a tiny bit higher, causing diamagnetism by squeezing the atoms together, restricting the electron orbits, which causes a north pole and a south pole, artificially induced diamagnetism, which causes levitation. If you lower the frequency, it pulls the atoms apart a tiny bit, which causes a phase change of matter, where a solid starts behaving like a liquid due to these strong electromagnetic forces resonating within it. This is the force that pulls aluminum bars apart and turns them into rubber spaghetti. This is the force that levitates 70-pound cannonballs. It's electromagnetic force.
There's many strange transmutations. This one started off as copper and ended up as brass. And you can still see little spots of copper in it here and there. It looks like a very strong force was kind of ripping and pulling it upwards as it changed to some type of a molten state. These very strange things to be happening on what started off as copper.
So what we did here was we assumed that these two pieces here might be in the same soliton loop. They looked a similar shape, although this one does seem to have a very large crystal in it. I wish I could get an SEM of that at this time. But anyway, so we wanted to see if these two affected areas had a similar distribution of elements. And lo and behold, it's a pretty damn close match. Yes, there's a little bit more copper in the second sample. The iron and copper ratio is switched around, but pretty much every peak is spot on. And you'll note that the aluminium is very low by comparison. And, I think we've got a table of the previous one here. So you have, I think that might be it. Last result, recent result, 18% on the iron, 15.5% on the 15.6% on the copper, and zinc is nearly 7%. And iron, copper, and zinc 18.8, 15.6, and nearly 7% on the zinc. They're pretty much spot on. That's really made me happy. So the theory is that the ions fuse to iron, the aluminium atoms fuse to iron, standard George-Joshua type reaction. And then the copper is some sort of oxygen that's fused into the iron, and the zinc is water from moisture in the air that gets fused onto the copper. The sulfur is two oxygen atoms being fused to sulfur. The lead is just at the end of the reaction chain because you get a whole bunch of stuff being shoved together, and I haven't got a ready explanation for the rest of it, but that's really satisfying.
Transmutation. Finally, 2017, we had some interesting results, but we weren't in a place to talk about it with confidence. Today we are.